What up, folks? What it do? Welcome to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast. Yes, with your boy, Mike Goodwin, the bow tie comedian. That's not wearing a bow tie. Actually, I'm wearing the, you see it, skull. You see it. Shout out to Super Mike, my dad. I represent for his team. But as everyone that's tuning in to the podcast should know, this podcast is called the Best Advice Ever podcast. And I'm your podcast host, Mike Goodwin, the bow-tied comedian, the refreshingly funny comedian and keynote speaker. In every episode, I share with you some of the best advice ever. For the last 4 weeks, I've been sharing some advice from Coach Buzz Williams, the head coach of the Texas A&M Aggies, who actually lost recently in the NCAA tournament. They should have won the game. Now, typically, that's what's the interesting thing about sports. People say they should have won. Well, they did it. That's the beauty of sports. Shoulda, coulda, woulda means nothing. Those boys couldn't get it together, man. I was watching the game. They lost to Michigan. Wade Phillips, if I'm not mistaken, is the guy. That was the dude from Texas A&M. I mean, he came to South Carolina. I think he dropped 30 on us. And I'm talking about some bombs, some 3-point bombs. He couldn't get it together. And in the Michigan game, I would suspect, I need to go back and look. I didn't look. I would suspect he probably didn't have double figures. He might have had 10 points, 10 to 12 points. Matter of fact, I have a computer in front of me. So let's look at Texas A&M versus Michigan. So they lost 91 to 79. Can I get the box score? Let's get Texas A&M. Wade Taylor. I don't know why I keep calling him Phillips. Wade Phillips is the coach, used to be the coach for the Cowboys. I was doing that when I was watching the game. He had 14 points. So I'm a little off. He had 14 points. That's not enough. It's not enough. 14 points is not going to do it. I was trying to find his shots, how many shots he took. I got all these bunch of tabs. A lot of tabs open on my computer. Get to this, see what the deal is. Wade Taylor. Yeah, it doesn't give me the breakdown, the box score. Let's see. They lost in the second round. Wish I could get the box score. 14 points. I didn't think he had 14. Let's get stats. They got team stats. I want individual stats. Individual stats. Because I know he did not fare well from the field. Let's see. Bracket. I'm glad y'all patient with me. I didn't, number one, I did not anticipate doing this. But once I got to talking about it, let's see, Texas A&M. Box score. Here we go. Wade Phillips, starter. He went 4 for 15 from the field. He was 1 of 8 from the 3-point line. 14 points. I wonder how many free throws he had. He was 5 of 6 from the free throw line. His team shot 25% from the 3-point line. 7 of 27. He went 1 of 8. Another guy went 3 of 7. He got an 0 of 2, 0 of 2, 1 of 2, 0 of 1, and 2 of 5. Man, that's a tough night. Tough night. But like I said earlier, the coach is the inspiration for the last 4 weeks, Coach Buzz Williams. And every week I've shared with you the advice that he shared with these young journalist students at the end of a press conference. So, Jeremy, go ahead and play advice number 4.
4, never turn down an opportunity to learn, or to work. Good luck.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
And there you have it. Never turn down an opportunity to learn or to work. Now, I must put an asterisk on this. I believe this is definitely for young people. because the older you get, you need some money. As a husband and a father, I can't just be taking opportunities to learn and work. I need opportunities to make some money. But if you're a young person, that's what he said. Young person, youth, college age, young students, never turn down an opportunity to learn or to work, which is very different from what I learned when I joined the Army in high school. I joined the Army after I graduated from high school. And I didn't learn this piece of advice. I learned never volunteer for a detail. Never volunteer. You learn that pretty easily, pretty quickly in basic training and in your early military career. They were like, let me get 4 soldiers, and you put your hand up, and next thing you know, you are shoveling feces out of a porta potty, right? You are cleaning pots in the makeshift mess hall. You are digging holes to put plants in around posts. You're picking up cigarette butts. Oftentimes in the military, when they say, hey, let me get some soldiers, it's about to be a work detail that you're not interested in. You might be on post painting rocks. And let me get 4 soldiers. You put your hand up. Next thing you are painting rocks on your Saturday. But that's not what Coach is saying. Coach says never turn down an opportunity to learn or to work. If he would have told young Michael that, it would have been the opposite of what they told us in the military. Do not volunteer for details, because there's never a volunteer. There's never a detail where they're like, hey, let me get 4 soldiers. Oh yeah, y'all gonna be taste testing the ice cream in the mess hall. That's not how it works. Yeah, you're gonna be sleeping on various mattresses to see which one's the softest mattress. Nah, that's not the case. But I do understand as a young person, and I agree, do not turn down an opportunity to learn something or an opportunity to work. Skills, man, I was just recently thinking about what are the skills that I'm giving my children? Like, what skills do I know, and am I passing those skills on to the next generation? So that's very important. And I thank Coach Buzz Williams for the last 4 weeks of the best advice ever. Round of applause, Coach. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Also on the podcast, I talk about being on the road and the different towns and cities that I go to. But in this episode, I want to talk about the town that I'm from, the city that I'm from, Camden, South Carolina. Hopefully it'll give you a little bit of perspective of who I am and how I've come to be the person that I am. Camden's a small town, but it's not super small. I looked. I don't know the population when I was growing up, but recently, as most recent as 2020, I think the population is about 7,000 in Camden, and now it's about 8,213. So it's a growing population. Camden, South Carolina, for me to describe, because I think a lot about the state. And often when I talk to people about the state, I normally break the state down into 3 parts. I say we have the upstate, which is Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, all the towns that are in the upstate. Then we have the Midlands, which is Columbia, Sumter, Camden, and surrounding areas. And then you have the Low Country, which is Charleston, Beaufort, right? Now that leaves out, because I'm going really north to south, but it leaves off the sides of South Carolina. So it leaves off the Grand Strand or the PD, which that we call Florence, Myrtle Beach, Conway. That's the PD. And then I don't know what we call Rock Hill. That is called something else. For like what they call that area now kind of escapes my mind. But Rock Hill, Fort Mill, that area is also, I think in some cases you may call it the Midlands. It's not necessarily upstate, but it does have a name. So Camden, which it would be deemed as the Midlands, kind of in the middle of the state. When I think about growing up in Camden, I have a unique perspective because I say this sometimes, I hadn't said it as often recently. I say I'm Southern, but I'm not country. I'm Southern, but I'm not country. So being from Camden and living in Camden is different than being from Columbia, because people that are not from Camden, they have a different perspective. Also similar to people that aren't from South Carolina, right? So like in South Carolina, in Camden in particular, for a person that grew up in Camden, I grew up in Camden. So Camden is, for most intents and purposes, is a city. It's a city. I didn't have to go anywhere to the grocery store. We had a movie theater. We didn't have a mall, but there was a not JC Penney's, but it was a Moore and Sons, like BC Moore and Sons, and then it was a Belks. So there were shops. There were places that when Easter Sunday would roll around, we would go downtown Camden. We didn't go to Columbia. We didn't go to Charlotte. For the most part, my parents purchased clothing and whatever we needed that it was in Camden. We didn't have to go another place. So in Camden, we're pretty self-contained. We didn't have to go to town like we were in Camden. So that produced in especially me and the folks that I grew up, the city type of mentality. Even though we're Southern, we're not rural, right? We're not from the country. We're not from up 96 or up 34 or up the country. Those folks, they had to come into town to get groceries unless there was like a country store. So that was a pretty distinct difference in my mind. I didn't have chickens in my yard. And again, I'm not being that's bad, this is good. I'm just telling you that what I experienced and what we had, my pastor's from New Jersey, he talks about projects. We had the Ville, which was projects. We had Trinity Apartments, which was the projects, right? I grew up in old River Road. So we were in houses, but around the corner from us was the Ville, which was the hood, which was the projects. No, we didn't have these skyscraper buildings, but there were subsidized housing, government housing, which would constitute as the projects, right? We had all the things. We had, like I said before, we had restaurants, we had grocery stores, schools, movie theaters, shops, anything that would constitute a city. And so I grew up with that kind of dynamic. Now, again, like I just said, being from Camden and being from Rembert or being from Cassett is two different things. But if you're from Columbia, people from Columbia look at Camden like everybody's from the rural part. So like Columbia is the city, but y'all out in Camden, y'all the country, because y'all come to Columbia to go to the mall or to, do some other things that you may not have the ability to do, like a Chuck E. Cheese or a Frankie's Fun Park. You got to go to Columbia for that, to the state fair. But we would have like a county fair. We wouldn't have, I don't know, because I don't really remember going to State Fair like that, but we would have like a little setup in town. So people from Columbia looked at Camden like it was all the same. Like there's no difference between city Camden and rural Camden. And then people that are from Chicago look at South Carolina like it's all the same. So you could be from Columbia, but they're looking at Columbia people like, yo, you all are country people. So I've noticed that, and that's been a pretty interesting dynamic in who I am. And I think in terms of my orientation around culture. So we grew up in Camden, which was very north, East Coast dominant, right? We had a lot of folks that were from New York that moved down. You had a lot of people that had family members that were New Yorkers, Connecticut. I got family in Connecticut, New Jersey, New York. So there was an influence of New York, but then there was also a West Coast. Like we were kind of similar to what I would deem fans of sporting town. So being from South Carolina, there are people that are Atlanta Falcon fans because that's the closest franchise before Charlotte. The Falcons were the closest to the state. So just by virtue of this proximity, they became Brave fans, they became Falcons fans, they became Hawks fans. That's one component. But then there's another component of people that grew up in South Carolina that just looked out at the landscape and said, you know what? I'm a Lakers fan. They win a lot. I'm a New York Knicks fan. I like their team. I got some family members from there. I'm a Chicago's Bulls fan because it's the most popular team, especially when I was growing up, or because WGN maybe was the Chicago network, and that was the teams that came on television. So we were kind of free agent in that regard to grabbing, like my dad's a Minnesota Vikings fan that lives in South Carolina. Not because he grew up in Minneapolis, not because there is a connection. There's a story to be told. But you have Cowboy fans that live in South Carolina. You have Philadelphia Eagle fans, and the list goes on and on and on. I find Camden to be interesting because it's not a place that is very known. It's not widely popular. If you know, you know. Our claim to fame, for the most part, people are the city boasts of being the most inland, the oldest inland city, which I don't really know why that is something to talk something to proclaim. The most oldest inland city, and also the Carolina Cup, which is a pretty big horse race happens there. In terms of notable people, I actually went to school with the people that I went and looked at the Wikipedia list. Vonnie Holiday, Bobby Ingram, these are all NFL players, people that made it to the league. So we have a handful of folks that played in the league. We have Coach Sean Elliott was a Division I coach. But yeah, there's no really long list of Camdenites that have struck it big in society. Larry Doby, who I have a joke about. Larry Doby was the first Black man to play in the American League. I do a joke about, I'll say Larry Doby, and people don't, I'm like, my shout out to I'm from Camden, South Carolina, home of Larry Doby. And a lot of times there's a lot of blank looks and stares. Nobody knows who Larry is. I said, well, do you know who Jackie Robinson is? Yes, people know Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier of the MLB. I think he did that in 1943. But Jackie Robinson was the second to play in the major leagues. But once it's done, there's no more recognition. And then I think Larry Doby also was the second to play in the World Series. He also owned, I think he had something to do with the NBA, like maybe a GM or having like a controlling interest. Larry Doby was pretty was pretty prolific for what he accomplished. And so there's not a lot of people, he played in Cleveland, so I had a bit about, kind of Jackie Robinson played in New York, Cosmopolitan. I'm like, Larry Doby played in Cleveland. You can imagine how hard that is. Man, that joke never really worked, man, because I talked about getting the kinks out, the racism. You imagine how the yelling at the black players has changed. Like somebody had to go through it and get them to like upgrade their insults, right? And then I even said this was the time I was like, man, because he played for Cleveland. I was like, man, they were burning LeBron James jersey just a couple years ago. I can't imagine what they were burning in Larry's yard. Now, that joke typically gets a moan, a groan, because number one, people don't feel good about it. It brings up America's past. It's not funny, right? So the pain is still we're not far enough away from the pain to where it's funny. Like the same thing that makes you laugh, same thing that makes you cry. Pain, laughter, tragedy is the other side of the same coin. But we haven't, that pain is still kind of, ooh. Man, you imagine, I just saw they were burning jerseys in Cleveland, LeBron James jerseys. Can you imagine what they were burning for Larry? Hurts. Ooh, tough. Bad, right? And then I go on with the joke and I say, the real issue is nobody remembers the second person to do anything. Like, who's the first person to be on the moon? Neil Armstrong. Who is the second person? Most people don't know, man, by the name is Buzz Aldrin. And then I end the joke. I say, there's more people that know Buzz Lightyear than Buzz Aldrin. So maybe there's some juice there. I gotta go back, man. It's just because I haven't made a joke of like, man, Larry don't have a coloring book. Jackie Robinson's numbers retired, the statues. Now, there are, like Cleveland, I think that there's some recognition in Cleveland. I don't know if there's a statue, but there's recognition in Cleveland. And the places, like I've done this joke, and I'll say Larry Doby. And there's a handful of people that know Larry, whether he played in Cleveland. I think they know him from another place. He was in New Jersey for a little while. So that sometimes people do know who Larry Doby is, but for the most part, they don't know who Larry Doby is, much like Franklin Armstrong. So maybe there's a Larry Doby, Franklin Armstrong combo that I can put together. But that gives you a little bit of insight of Camden. Camden, hopefully, I'm a small town guy. I don't like parking. We were just my wife and I were just in Atlanta, and I recently went to buy one of the fedoras that I had. It's time to get a new one. They get worn. And we went to this like Ponce City. It's like an shopping area in Atlanta. You had to get parking. You had to park. You could get valet, or you can park in the parking garage. And man, if you want me to be steaming, man, get me to pay for parking, a parking garage, or to pay meter. Like, I just want to pull up into a parking space and get on about my business. That's how my life, I spent, and I wasn't even really driving in Camden like that, but even the people that I was in the car with, nobody had to get out with quarters to feed the meter, pay for park. Like, there's something in me that despises to pay for parking. Like, I'll do it. I'm an adult. I'm going to do what adults do, but I can't stand it. Oh, I can't stand to pay for parking. Parking garage, valet. I would much rather valet. I'd rather just give it and you go parking than have me riding around looking for parking. And like in Atlanta or in many places, you park in one spot and can get turned around pretty quickly because we parked in one parking garage, walked across a bridge, and got in another elevator and came down. So when we were going back, we just thought, oh, go to the fourth floor, and that's where our car is. Like, nah. We got to go and walk back across that bridge. We left the bridge part out. That's why we wandering in the wrong parking lot. So I despise parking. Shout out to Camden. 803. Camden, we C-Town. I don't think we had any of that. We were just the Camden Bulldogs. And I had a lot of respect because when people that didn't know about us, they typically knew about our athletics teams. And they knew that we were good. Like, it was like, hey, you just wasn't coming to Camden to get no easy W. Like, if you got one, you earned it. So shout out to Camden. One thing I've been thinking about a lot also is the burden of success. That's just something that I guess it just stays with me. First off, I was looking at I love basketball podcast clips. I don't know if I don't watch often to watch the whole podcast, but I watch clips, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. And I really enjoyed Jeff Teague's podcast. I think it's 523. It's something. Him and two other guys. When I just recently saw Jeff Teague was talking about his kind of experience, first couple of years of his career, and he actually got called out by another NBA guy. Man, I was watching that whole beef and the responses because another guy by the name of Ty Lawson, who used to play at the University of North Carolina, point guard, used to be a fan of the Tar Heels. Brandon Jennings, that's who the player was. He called out like three guys. He called out like Jeff Teague, Ty Lawson, somebody else. Teague was talking about when he came to Atlanta. So he came to Atlanta and he was, Teague is just a kid, man. He's funny, like he's very talented, but he doesn't want to work hard. That's just kind of impression I get. And so he got to Atlanta and this vet came, Dominique Wilkins' boy, Damien, I think is his first name, came to the team and he basically got on Teague like, yo, you start working out with me. You gonna work with me. Meet me at the gym at this time. Teague blew him off. Dude, like every time you blow me off, that's like $100 fine. Teague blew him off like 3 times. Then dude went to the GM, was like, Teague owed me $500. They gave him the money out of this check. So Teague was like, I need to go talk to this dude. So dude like, hey man, you need to be putting in the work because in the league, you never know when your opportunity is going to come. So you come in here, you're going to train with me. And he started training with him. And he was absolutely correct. Kyle Korver got hurt. Jeff Teague came in. Boom. Doing his thing. He was prepared. It's the saying, if you stay ready, don't have to get ready. So he just jumped right in there, made it happen. And he talked about how he basically was just trying to make the all-star team. And once he made the all-star team, he just went on cruise control. Like I don't think he fulfilled his potential. So he was giving that example. And I just recently watched a documentary about Kobe Bryant. And so with Jeff Teague's example, the example of success, like he gained success. He wanted to make the all-star team. He was killing. He was getting it done. He made the all-star team, and then he didn't work hard anymore. He just rested on his laurels, as one would say. Then I look at Kobe Bryant. Kobe wanted it. They said Kobe's a young guy in practice during the season going hard, and the vet's like, yo, young fella, relax and chill. But the tragedy, so the tragedy of Teague is that he achieved and then took a break. The tragedy of Kobe was he achieved at a high level, but he lost his nucleus, his family. And I kind of remember, like, wow, because I'm watching, like, when you're watching history happen, you're not saying, oh, this is historic. I'm just watching Kobe Bryant come up in the league. I'm not looking at, oh man, one day there's going to be documentaries about these times. And I remember reading that article. I remember seeing that news report. I was at this particular place. I was in college when I saw. So now I'm looking at documentaries. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember when that happened. Well, the thing that's interesting to me about Kobe, driven, determined, but he loses his family. He loses his family, and his world was all about his family. His dad, which I did not realize. I knew he played in the NBA, but he got put out of the NBA basically because he got caught with some drugs. He led the police on a chase. He had some drugs in the car with a woman, that was not his wife. Got pulled over, was in Philadelphia, traded a few times, and then he found himself shortly thereafter out of the league. Even to the degree where he wasn't even in basketball. He was just working at a car dealership. Someone suggested he should go to Europe, takes the family, go to Italy, has a resurgent, becomes a star over there, but he has this young son who's talented as a basketball player. Matter of fact, they were showing clips of Kobe as like a young guy. He was not passing the ball. They would say the kids, it was like it was like 9 kids crying on the court because they wasn't getting the ball. The 4 that he played with, and then the other 5 that was trying to defend him, they couldn't get the ball. So they were all crying. He knew at an early age, he's over there learning how to speak Italian. He's going to be a basketball player. He comes back to the States. He's a monster, right? Family. It's all about family. Kobe's not going to the club. He's not hanging out. He's not drinking. He's not partying with his teammates. He's with his family. Then he meets this young woman and he gets married and the family disapproves. And now they're estranged. His sisters and his father and his mother. And then there's a selling of some of his memorabilia that further strains the relationship. Then the family moves from LA back to Philadelphia. And then Kobe Bryant dies without resolving the family issue. Success, man. There's a burden for success. So I pray that you are navigating your success successfully. And myself the same. I have some challenges in my personal life as it relates to success and perspective and how I see things and how other folks see things. And I just hope that I will find the space to have some conversations that I need to have, because I can easily be on some Kobe Bryant, like, hey man, I said this recently, and I've been saying this quite a bit. I used to wonder, because I got a family member. I have a family member that lives here in the same town that I live in. He's totally isolated himself from the family. He's totally withdrawn from the family. He stays in contact with no one. He did not attend our grandparents' funeral. He's just effectively like removed himself from the family. And I used to wonder, like, man, how can a person, you grew up with these people, man, this is your family. But I can see it now, how you can just drift and be like, yo, it ain't worth the headache. It ain't worth the trouble. And so hopefully in your successes and the things that you are navigating in life, that you will be able to maintain good, healthy family relationships. That's all for the day. I want to do a little bit of puffy Mike, because I did learn some things. One of the things I learned, I'm a snacker. So in my fit mode, I found these. This is a built puff bar. This is a protein bar. Built, and then there's another Quest bar that I really like. Quest is crispy chocolate caramel peanut butter, I think. Typically about 170 calories. I get 1 or 2 of these. I have maybe the one, and a protein shake. That calms my snacking urges, because I'm the kind of guy, like I used to have like pepper jack cheeses, like little squares. Man, I eat 4 or 5 of them a day, not knowing that one is, 4 or 5 is 100 calories, or 2 is 100 calories. Like I didn't look the breakdown, but I'm eating them. I had like little salami, pepperoni. I get the little packages that they have the cheese rolled up with the meats. Just snacking aimlessly, and I'm probably chawing down aimlessly on like 800 calories. Aimlessly taking in 800. I'm not being satiated. I'm not being full. I just like, oh, it's in the refrigerator. So I've eliminated those aimless calories out of my, for the most part. I have couple of Girl Scout cookies. I like 150 calories for 2. I'm on that. I get 2 cookies. I keep it moving. Back in the day, I eat a whole sleeve, a whole roll of cookies, man. That's probably 350 calories right there. It's about 5 cookies in a row. That's about 375. If my math is right, 375, right? That's not good. 375, boom, gone, quick. Ate them up. Had some juice, some Simply juice. I'm drinking 90 calories a cup. I done had 4 cups, 3 cups. So one thing I've learned to eliminate is these aimless calories. I eat with a little bit more purpose. I got my meals. Matter of fact, wrap this podcast up, right over to the house, get either a shake or a meal. It's about that time for me to get some nutrients inside my body. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm on my fitness. We done made a little adjustment to the food meal plan. So you should see, my goal, like I said, is to get rid of my stomach's not longer than my waist, extending past my waist. But ideally, within the end of this month, like we're coming into March, out of March into April. By the end of April, I want to be at like 220. I'm at 230 now. So 10 pounds, at least by the end of March, by the end of May. Give myself 2 months. By the end of April, 225. End of May, 220. That's kind of where I want to be. I'm really not trying to have a certain weight by my birthday, but by my birthday, I do want to be like maintaining. Now, if I could get down to 205, 210, ideally that'd be a great place for me to kind of, if I could fluctuate between 210 to 215, I think I'll be very happy. I think I'll be very, very satisfied. I think I'll have a good game plan. We have this, like I said, I might have mentioned before, my meal plan is kind of pretty restrictive through the week, but I got a little more flexibility on the weekends. We got about 2,300 calories through the week. Weekends, I got a little bit more latitude and not longitude around my stomach. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in, man. I'm gonna check y'all out next time. Also, I'm doing an intensive, humor intensive. Now, this is for speakers. This is for people that speak for a living. They get paid. I want to help you insert humor into your presentation. It's going to be in Columbia, South Carolina, March 11th and 12th. 2 days. Well, I give you the game, man. I put you in the game of how to improve your storytelling, how to write material that hits, how to increase your engagement on stage where you having more fun, you closing more sales, you making more money because people are entertained as well as educated. Because most of you, if you're speaking, you're doing a good job of communicating your information, but you're not doing a good job of having a good time and having people enjoy and look forward to hearing from you. So if you want any more information, just go to my website, or you can go to Funny in Money. Yeah, it's Money in Funny, my bad. moneyinfunny.com and sign up, and you can spend 2 days with me here in Columbia, South Carolina. Well, again, thank y'all so much for tuning in to the Best Advice Ever podcast. I'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat place. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're with me. And I appreciate that. Peace.